Good morning, homesteaders. It's been a little bit of a time since I've put up any serious posts or videos, and I figure it's about time. We've been working on something for quite a while now, and that's kind of consumed a lot of our time, pretty much throughout the tail end of last summer, fall, through the winter, and just kind of concluding now. Uh, and what it comes down to is it's just basically a cleanup job on our property. A friend of mine, he kind of turned me onto a program that the Department of Natural Resources offers. And I know different jurisdictions and government agencies and stuff like that have various programs. But anyways, so the Department of Natural Resources has this program called the Firewise program. And it is a program where landowners, private landowners of a particular acreage size or greater, can get assistance in reducing what's known as the fire load on their property. So we are in a area that is prone to wildfires. We have some pretty dry and hot summers, and so the Department of Natural Resources the way the program is designed is to actually assist you in paying to have somebody come in and clean it up. So you would hire somebody to come in. They use these giant macerator machines on the front of the skid steers or whatever, and they just roll through, and it just grinds and crushes and tears things up, and loggers will come in and thin the trees and whatnot. So that is actually, so they would pay up to, at least the program that we're going through, it would pay up to 50%, up to a particular amount, and you would pay the other half. So it gets done. It reduces the cost for you as the landowner, and you have safer property. Your house, homestead, gardens, buildings, whatever is safer because you reduce the fire load in the area. So, and it protects the trees because it's thinning things out and limiting them up, which is kind of what the Department of Natural Resources is. They're looking after that resource. Another way of doing it, though, is you can have you as the landowner can do the work, and that same amount of money that would have been paid to somebody else would then be paid to you. It is not exactly a great way to have a second job. It's a lot of effort. In fact, the DNR agent who came out, he was talking about how most people who do this for the first time, a good percentage of them actually realize they bit off more than they can chew, and then they give up on it, and then they just go the other route. Their contract expires, and then they're not really out the money, but they're out the labor. And so, anyways, I'm having been a firefighter for years and done wildland firefighting and things like that. It's on my radar, and it's of importance to me to do this around our property. And our property was logged probably 15 or 20 years ago, I would say. There's a lot of debris all over the place. In certain areas, the trees are thin enough, but the new saplings and stuff, they grow up, and they're 2 or 3 feet apart. So anyways, the DNR guy, he came out and he walked around. We partitioned off a 3-acre chunk of our property around the house and the entrance of the property and that kind of a thing, under the premise that we want to protect our homestead, and that it's most likely that a fire is going to start somewhere where there's people. And so we cordoned off those 3 acres, and we've been spending the last 8-ish months working on cleaning things up. There's different degrees to which you can do this program. They want the trees at least 10 to 14 feet apart. They want them limbed up from the ground, and that's where you can choose to do it in degrees. You can either do it 8, 10, 14. You can kind of choose how high you want to limb the trees, and they will, their pay estimate will adjust accordingly. And so there's the thinning, there's the limbing, and then there's also you've got debris on the ground, which in my case is pretty substantial. There's a lot of small logs, large branches, just old debris that's all dried out, and is an incredible fire load on our ground. And then there's brush control. Unfortunately, the brush control, unless you have one of those giant macerators or a brush hog that'll actually get up into the trees and on the hills and stuff like that, the brush work is actually the most time intensive, but unfortunately it pays the least if you are looking at it from a standpoint of, I'm going to get paid for it myself, which is what I'm running into. Tara and I have actually been toying with getting a field mower, one of those self-propelled walk-behind field mowers, because that would go a long ways towards getting into the trees and on the hills and stuff that we've been having problems getting up in. We don't want to get rid of all the brush. We didn't buy the property to clear it and log it and do that stuff. We want to actually have a good balanced ecosystem and habitat for all the critters and whatnot. I mean, I do a certain amount of milling, and obviously we need firewood and stuff like that, but that's incidental. We've got a lot of acreage, and we're not out here to tear everything down, which is kind of at odds with the DNR program, because they would love to see it's about the trees, and they want the brush cleared, they want all the debris cleared and everything limbed up, and then nice healthy trees that then down the road somebody can come in and log, and it's good, healthy, marketable timber. But that's not our goal. So we're not necessarily at odds, but we're not necessarily looking at it from 100%. We want to follow the program 100%, especially with the brushwork, because we want to keep some of the brush. And then aesthetically, I like having branches coming down a little ways, especially on the younger trees. But anyways, so we have spent a lot of time, to the exclusion of pretty much anything else. I don't think I did but maybe 2 or 3 projects other than the Firewise stuff. And part of the reason we did it through the winter is because with the amount of debris, and especially some of the larger and the mistletoe branches, which are darn near impossible to push through the chipper, the PTO driven chipper on our tractor, we needed to be able to burn. And you don't from about April on, you don't burn where I'm at. You get the stink eye from the neighbors, even if it is raining, if you're burning past April or early May. So once those heavy spring rains stop, we're done burning, and you don't start until after the snow and everything later in the season. So I didn't start burning until I think, oh gosh, was it October? Late October? It may have been a little bit earlier than that, because we had a huge snow dump in September, which was very odd. But anyways, so we got limited burning seasons, and we got a lot of stuff to burn. I want to put as much as possible through the PTO driven chipper, but that's just not going to happen with everything. Either too big, odd shaped, cumbersome like the mistletoe branches, or whatever. But we have gotten to the point where I have called the DNR guy, and he's going to come out hopefully this week or next and see our progress and see if he can sign off on it, and then we'll move on to the next one. We'll just continue partitioning off portions of the property, or do it off the center line of the road to create a fire break. It's flexible, and that's what I like about it. And it allows me to get some stuff done that I feel is important on the property, because, as I said, having experience in that background, I've wanted to get this stuff done with the property. It just didn't necessarily take a huge priority with building the shack and getting other infrastructure in place. And so, like I said, it's not a viable second job, but it is a nice little bonus. It's something that I wanted to do anyways, so I kind of moved it up the priority list a little bit, because in finishing off that chunk of that 3-acre chunk, it's a good portion of our septic field. So in the sense of what we will get for it is will pay for a good portion of the septic field. But that was a lot of effort going into earning that money. So I think if I calculated the hours and stuff like that, it's probably like $3 an hour. It's insanely low, but it's kind of one of those things of, if I'm going to get paid for doing something I was going to do already anyways, may as well do it. So I'm going to transition into a little bit of before and after type stuff. These aren't literally before and afters, but it's kind of an example of what it looked like, and then this is the finished product. So that being said, Hope you enjoy and appreciate the effort that went into clearing the stuff that you're about to see. And
you.